In today's episode of the Full Potential Parenting Podcast, I want to share some thoughts around the microbiome, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and being out of balance and what it might take to be back in balance. So stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Full Potential Parenting Podcast. I'm Allison Morris, and today I want to talk with you about the microbiome. And I want to start more generally with some thoughts about our place in the world. Obviously, bacteria, viruses, fungi that make up our microbiome, which is, all the microbial content that starts in our mouth all the way down through our intestinal lining and out the other side. And we'll talk more in another episode about just how critical our microbiome is in supporting immunity and overall health. But today I wanted to take a higher perspective view on all of this. They've all been around a whole lot longer than we have, as in billions of years longer, certainly in the case of bacteria. And there are so many species of bacteria and viruses and fungi. I don't even have the numbers in front of me, but they're astounding, overwhelming, astronomical. And we know in the last 20 years a whole lot more about how helpful the microbiome that lives on us and in us and around us is to human health. Of course, we've also known for a number of years, further back, how damaging some of them can be to human health, and we're witnessing that again right now with the coronavirus. Of course, what's so interesting about viruses, there's even some debate about whether viruses are alive, right? Because they can't replicate on their own. They need host cells to coerce or coax to do the replication for them. And evolutionarily speaking, viruses are fascinating because while certain bacteria got more complex, viruses became simpler and simpler. And there's a certain elegance to that, I think. And what I really want to urge you to consider is how all illness, including the illness that's facing so many people and scaring the whole world right now, is so much about being out of balance, out of equilibrium. One of the things that we know for sure is that there are so many different bacteria and viruses and fungi that are incredibly beneficial to human health. And of course, we know that on the other hand, there are some that appear to have no beneficial purpose for humans. And then there's others where I think they fall somewhere in between, where they live inside us and they don't appear to do any damage until certain things are out of balance. And then they can start to operate in ways that are not beneficial to us. But the key is always balance. We know more than ever now just how much our bodies are designed to return to balance, to return to wellness, to return to health on their own. We have such self-healing capacities inherent in the way we were designed. And yet when things are out of balance, that is when there is an opportunity for us to become ill. That's when there's an opportunity for us to become infected. Another thing that is really apparent now is that we have depleted the nutrients in our soil enormously with, again, astronomical numbers of pesticides and insecticides and essentially antibiotics, right, against living organisms that we spray and pour onto our soil every year. And it has, in fact, killed life in our soil, not just the bugs that might be crawling on leaves, making things maybe a bit more unsightly. And we're just out of balance here. We are so out of balance with the natural world. Consider that somewhere there is a role for all of the organisms that exist in this world to have their place. If you believe in God, a divine plan, a universal intelligence, a quantum field, there simply must be a reason, a place for everything that is here now living with us, including the coronavirus. And if you stop for a moment and try to step away from the fear and the survival response that is ignited within us, right? When we think about bacteria and viruses in particular, mostly we think about what? Fighting them or fleeing from them. And I'm not suggesting that people don't take precautions and don't follow the guidelines about staying inside and physical distancing and all the rest of it. What I am suggesting is that this may be a real opportunity for us to consider how out of balance we have become with the world in which we live. How we grow our food, the antibiotics that we pour into the animals that we eat, that we then consume. So even if you're careful to not say, take antibiotics when you don't need them, you're still eating them and in some cases drinking them, depending on what your diet is, because they're just everywhere. And of course, antibiotics don't just kill bad bacteria, they also kill the good bacteria, which then gives bad bacteria more of an opportunity to colonize. Again, that brings us back out of balance, back out of this like extraordinary dance of life that we have going on inside of us and outside of us, just on an extraordinary level at all times. I wonder if we could, instead of being so scared of this particular virus, but all microbial life, consider instead what we might do to increase our own health, our own immunity, to appreciate, become grateful for the other life forms that coexist with us gracefully, that benefit us in so many other ways. And try to shift our perspective somewhat so that, again, we're not operating out of a place of fear and trying to fight and trying to sort of oppress and control these microorganisms, but instead to get to a place where our health is such that there is no opportunity for microorganisms that are not beneficial to our health to take root or to express themselves in our bodies. And I've provided a few exercises in a previous podcast for other ways to boost our immunity, and I will be sharing some additional ideas about that, especially in the next podcast, on how we can support the microbiome that we have so that its mix is the most beneficial in supporting our health that it can be. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode, and I hope to see you again real soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.